And anyway, it's injectable cardarine and SR900 3 times a week pre-cardio. Thanks, Scott. So that's GW501516, which I thought was really orally available to begin with. I don't know why. I would say this, man. I would scrap it. I don't know what his goals are with cardarine, but I feel like I get a really good benefit from SLUPP332, aka the SLU. I would go with that. If you want an exercise mimetic, do you go with the one that has been proven to cause cancer in every organ of the body in that rat study? And I understand the study was flawed. Or do you go with the one that hasn't been studied enough yet to show cancer? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast with Dave Crosland. I'm Scott McNally, and all of our programming, it's brought to you by you, the people of Patreon. Thank you guys for your support. We are brought to you by evalbloodanalysis.com. You can get your lab work done by Dave if you're in the UK. You can also go to STROM SPORTS Nutrition if you're in the UK. You get great health and performance supplements over there. They've got some great health stacks like cycle support. Check out their stuff if you are especially on the secret sauce. And of course, supplementsource.ca for our Canadians. They have great deals that change week to week. And last but not least, of course, TrueNutrition.com, the longest running advertiser that we've had with the podcast. They have great supplements for like all your basics, every protein powder you can think of, creatine, intra workout. You could buy it all by bulk, flavor it yourself. You could use our code THINK to get some additional savings. Dave, welcome back to the show. How much did you miss me while you were in Japan?
No, I didn't.
No, I asked how much, not if you did.
And I'm telling you, I didn't.
Okay.
It was lovely.
I see how it's
absolutely lovely. No Scott for 2 weeks. It was
I see great. How it's going to be. I see how this is going to be already. People did miss you. People were like, "Hey, where's Dave?" And people were like, "Hey, I hope he's having a jolly good time." You know, they missed you.
I had an incredible time. It was fantastic.
At the end of the show, I want to get some pictures from you. I want to see all about this and hear your take on the experience. But until then, I wanted to just try to catch up because we have a bunch of listener questions. And listen, I wanted to encourage people too. So we've kind of like broken our stride by being off for a couple weeks. If you guys have any listener questions for the program, then comment on this episode, plus comments and likes and all that stuff. It really does help to boost our content. It's not necessarily going to boost us in your algorithm, but it'll help other people to find our show. So if you enjoy what we're doing, it's a huge help to us if you would hit the like button and leave comments. And if you aren't subscribed, guys, we have several bodybuilding podcasts that come out each week. Dave, what are we going to start with here? My mouse is not working, so if it just fails, we're just going to not be able to turn the show off. We're just going to have to do this for the rest of until I get it replaced, till Amazon sends me a new mouse. Also, guys, I want to throw this out there. Dave is super jet lagged. When did you get back?
So I got home 9 o'clock last night. I got up in Tokyo at 4:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 9-hour time difference. So Tokyo is 9 hours in front of the UK.
Mm.
And so we flew about 10 o'clock. It was a 15-hour flight. Yeah.
I told Dave, guys, I was like, "Hey, Dave, if you want to just wait, man, and do the show next week, let me know, all right?" And he was like, "No, mate, I think I'm good."
So, let me think. I was up. Excuse me. It's 4 till 9. Basically 24 hours.
Yeah, you're gonna crash. Like after this podcast, probably you're gonna go
to. Now.
Okay. Well, we won't keep you long then. How about, so I do see people in the stream. You guys are welcome to ask questions there too. So we had a guy who was on a grandma testy, and he's asking us, how long does it take for the bloat to come off. How long before water weight to drop off after 1 gram of testy? It's been 12 days. Calculator says that I should be at TRT levels by now. But is there some lag time for my body to adjust?
Right, so the first thing, how the hell is he going to be at TRT time from a gram of test in 12 days? Don't talk stupid. The half-life is 10.5 days.
So he's on like 500 after 10 days.
Let's do basic maths here. So 10.5 days, 500. 10.5 days, 250. 10.5 days, 125. 31 and a half days before you get near TRT dose.
Okay.
So now it will be slightly quicker. There will be a slightly upregulated clearance post-cycle. But you know, people really do underestimate how long it takes for these drugs to clear.
Yeah.
On top of that, estrogen runs in lag. I don't have any exact figures, and I spoke to a few people, clever people, not me, like clever Scott type clever people. And the general consensus seems to be that you're looking somewhere between a week to 2 weeks lag with estrogen.
Okay, yeah.
So if his peak test level was today, his peak estrogen level is going to be a week to 2 weeks from today.
Which makes sense to me.
Yeah, so let's be conservative and say it's a week. So all the time his test is coming down, he's going to be in an estrogen positive environment because his estrogen is going to be behind, it's therefore higher than his test.
Yep.
Which is going to increase water retention because of the ratio difference, not only just because of estrogen being high.
Yeah.
So post-cycle, you tend to get this estrogen dominant period where water's high. On a gram, I would say 2 to 3 weeks is going to take before the water fully clears. I would suspect most of it will be shifted in a couple of weeks, but it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks, I think, before water will be fully cleared.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me too. I also wonder what his diet is like, you know, because there's going to be a lot of contributing factors there. If you're eating super, super clean, I imagine you weren't holding a lot of water to begin with, versus if you gained 15 pounds of fluid on the cycle, then the likelihood of you holding a lot of water after the cycle is a big thing too. By the way, you mentioned something I thought was interesting about that lag. Estrogen's still remaining higher as test is coming down, basically. I've seen a lot of guys who end up getting like gyno sensitivity issues. I'm not saying full-blown gyno, but they start noticing some sensitivity at the end of the cycle. I also see that's where people tend to get other side effects like acne, you know, like they do good while they're consistent with everything, but then as they come off and things shift, that's where the problem ends up being for them.
Yeah, and the other thing with the gyno is that DHT is protective against gyno. So not only are you creating an environment where you've got estrogen as the dominating hormone, but also you're reducing elevated DHT levels. So that increased DHT would have helped offset gyno. All of a sudden, that advantage is starting to be reduced as the test declines and metabolizes out of your system and estrogen stays high.
Yeah. All right, how about this one from the live stream? Even at peak blast, my hematocrit and hemoglobin are in range, but my platelets have been elevated out of range for the past 2 years. Is this a concern? Anything I can do to lower the platelets?
Aspirin.
Aspirin will lower platelets?
80 milligrams a day, aspirin would be my first point for lower. Well, it reduces clotting capability, and that's what you're concerned about with elevated platelets. So aspirin would be my go-to there. There are some natural alternatives. I mean, white willow bark, but there are some natural alternatives as well. The other... a lot of it depends on when you say elevated, how elevated. You know, are we just above? Are we 50% above? There's a big significant difference in the risk factor there. You know, if it's slightly above, I wouldn't be super concerned.
He says 460 to 500 on a scale that runs 140 to 400.
Yeah, that's quite high. Might be worth actually getting some secondary medical advice on that, because it could be an underlying factor contributing there.
Yeah, I wonder too. This is actually somebody I work with, and we've tried a couple things here. I suspect something. I thought about getting Victoria involved too here, but I wonder if it might not be a good idea though if he could find a doctor that would be willing to work with him on it. The only problem is that a lot of this is, this guy is a full-time gear user. You know what I mean? He's cycling on and off, and a lot of times that's kind of beyond what general medical practice suggests.
Yeah, there is that aspect as well. But in the bloods that I look at, though we do see some platelet adulteration, it's not that common or that exaggerated.
Right. I wonder. I do. Yeah, and I feel like the answer he's gonna maybe get is, well, just come off the steroids. You know what I mean?
There's a strong chance they won't look at hormones when they test him, so he'll just have to lie.
True. All right. Okay, this is a really long question. Hi, fellas. Best PED podcast on the internet, hands down. You're hilarious and informative, and I'd love to hear my question on the air. Well, here you go, buddy. Let's see. Quick healing NPP question, please. I have a 75% brachioradialis tear, 4.5 centimeters deep and too wide for surgery or complete healing. So it's healing in its new weakened shape, and I'll build it up. Sucks, but it's not my first major tear. Either way, I'm 115 kilograms, decent condition, 42 years old, bodybuilding, powerlifting for 22 years, plus judo and hammer. I don't know what that means, hammer. And been enhanced with test for 1 year. Last summer, I ramped the test from 160 to 380 plus 310 mast over 16 weeks. No AI needed, but I have some, and I've cruised on 200 since. Bloods are good, but creatinine is bad, as expected. Now, to help maintain size with healing and leaning out a bit, I just upped to 400 tests, 300 mass per week, and I'm using BPC in the arm for a few days. And a slight caloric deficit in training is okay, considering push-pull legs, all good. Pull heavily. Pushing and legs are good. Pull is affected. A lot going on here. This is literally a huge paragraph, kind of all crammed together. Just thinking of adding NPP to help with healing. Was considering 100 milligrams a week and adjusting the others to 300 and 300, so that's 700 total a week, but a drop in test because the NPP and the master are the same. Do you think NPP is worth it? Okay, now we're getting to the question. Do you think NPP is worth it for the healing purposes? I'll preload P5P. Do you think I should expect a change in E2 management requirements? Do you think it's worth it? I won't bother. If you don't think it's worth it, I won't bother. James.
I don't think using a cycle is an approach to healing, especially a cycle that at this point would be the largest cycle he's ever done. It seems wasteful. Because you're not going to utilize half of what you're doing. That's not to say that NPP won't have some benefit, but his healing approach is very much focused around ligament and tendinature instead of soft tissue. So I would go TB over BPC, because it's not a tendon tear, it's a muscular tear, isn't it?
Yeah, he said brachioradialis tear. I'd do both, personally.
Yeah, I mean, if budget allows, but if not, I'd be more focused on TB rather than BP. So that would be one thing. I don't think you're going to get any sort of particularly extra benefits from the DECA over what you'd get from a little bit of improved healing from just test only. I'd be curious as to where he is on the 200 from a point of view of levels, because that wouldn't be something I'd want to see long-term implementation if levels were running high. And I think he can do more with less.
Yeah.
The other thing you got to be careful about is like using a cycle for recovery is that temptation to exploit the cycle's benefits in the other areas, i.e. train hard and heavy in other body parts, and then accidentally doing a cross load into the injured area. That might sound a bit mad, so I'll give an example to make it more easy. So say you've got a damaged bicep and you're squatting. Because you're on cycle, you're squatting heavy, you're pushing hard, because your attitude is, well, it's not affecting my legs, I can push my legs as hard as I want, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
But that bicep has to stabilize that bar. And if something goes awry in the exercise where the bar comes unseated for any reason, all of a sudden you're loading that injured area with a shit ton of weight that it wasn't expected to be encompassing. So I'd always be a little bit careful about doing full-blown cycles when injured, on the attitude that, well, I will focus on the non-injured parts, because sometimes it's unavoidable that you get a little bit of crossover with stabilization of your body in a movement.
Sure.
So just worth bearing in mind. But yeah, I mean, peptides fine, bit of growth fine, even down the Anavar route for healing to an extent. I know that's something you've used a few times with people, isn't it, and yourself?
I've heard of it being used. I haven't leaned into it ever. I know that, we're told
you did it for an injury.
Maybe I did and don't even remember it. Yeah,
sure you said something about going on Anavar because you'd injured something.
It's probably very possible, man. I can't remember all the gear I've taken over the years now, but it's been a while. Whenever it was. I think that growth hormone is a great move, by the way. I think a few units of growth, if you could get that in there. And you know what else, too? Here's the thing I really love about growth. It's great even off cycle, meaning that you get an improved, improved pumped in quality of workout in the gym while you're on a few units of growth. You get a little bit of improved recovery. And I've had people tell me, having not used it before and then gone on it and continued on it after their cycle, to say, oh my gosh, my off cycle phase has been so much better. I really didn't feel like I went off completely, So, and that's even people who have TRT'd. I think there's a lot of benefit. In fact, especially with people or PCT, especially for people that come off, I think there's a benefit to that. And he's not going to get that excessive strength from growth that we would from ramping up the gear to a gram or whatever,
Yeah, to me, it's a bit, I don't know, just seems a bit overkill.
Growth?
No, the cycle plan for recovery.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, no, growth I think is a great addition. And if you can't go that far, then I'd even consider using the peptides.
Yeah.
HRPs and stuff.
The thing is, though, is that the market today, at least here in the U.S., the market today, there's so much good generic growth available, and it's very competitive. So the cost of running real growth is pretty consistent with the cost of running all these peptides. Plus, it's a lot less hassle. With the peptides, you've got to you're trying to unlock your own natural production, right? So there's
timing's a pain in the ass.
Exactly. So you're taking 2-3 shots a day of 2-3 different compounds, and you're timing it up with food and all this stuff. Versus you take GH, and guess what? You're on GH. So I like that. Speaking of peptides, I'll knock this one out really quick. What do you guys think of AOD 9040 peptides for weight loss? Have you tried it? Do you know anybody who has tried it? So I think, Dave, AOD, isn't that the same thing as HGH Frag?
You know what? I haven't got a fucking clue.
All right, hold on a second. I'm pretty sure it's just a renamed version of Frag. Yeah, I don't, there's a reason that I don't know things about this, and it's because we don't use it. Hold on a second.
I'm not my strongest suit isn't peptides. I mean, the ones that, obviously that are the ones that we use. But
so GH Frag 176 to 191, and the idea behind this stuff is that they've isolated the portion of the growth peptide or growth hormone chain that is responsible for fat loss, and that's all you're going to get. Now, what are the pros? Some people have said, well, I just want the fat loss from it. I don't want to deal with the high blood sugar that goes along with growth. I think that the doses that we're using it at in the injectable secretagogues, we're not as likely to get blood sugar issues to begin with. Or if you're just using 2-3 units of growth, you're not likely to get blood sugar issues with it. You could test along the way, but you're going to miss out on all the other benefits of growth by just using Frag. Now, they called it 15 years ago HGH Frag, right? And now they've basically rebranded it as AOD. It never was successful for all the people that were spending thousands and thousands on the secretagogues back in the day. And I guarantee you that there's a reason why it never became popular, and that's because it really wasn't an ideal compound to use. That's my take.
No, I'll be with you on that. The end of the day, we had this big boom in GH releases in peptides for a while, and they were all, and we get this periodically with everything. Drugs come into the marketplace, be them new drugs or be them old drugs that are just being remembered. And they'll have a moment of popularity. The ones that work stay.
Yeah. The
ones that don't soon drift. And this is what you see. So, when you see things coming in and then disappearing, they're disappearing because the real world, their impact isn't significant enough to justify their existence being continually there. And you go back to the ones that work. So, we get this all the time. So it's a real easy sort of no-brainer way of just checking, everyone used to be on this, no one uses it anymore. Is it just been forgotten? No, it's gone because it wasn't getting the results that people wanted.
Yeah, I'm just looking right now. It is considered to be the same thing. I think it's the TRT companies here in the States, Dave. They are able to market these products, the secretagogues, and it's an easy tack on. So a lot of guys I know, they say, oh yeah, I think I'm going to go legit. I'm going to go to a TRT clinic. They go get their labs done, and then there's a sales pitch that's attached with that. They have somebody who's a representative from the company who's saying, okay, so based off of your results, we're seeing that you could use, of course, testosterone. We're going to need an AI. We're going to need this. We're going to need that. And by the way, your growth hormone levels are low. We're going to add in some Cialis. It's going to help with blood pressure. And, before you know it, you've got all these different little add-ons that, are a lot more than the TRT you walked in the door for, but they have a way of making you feel like you don't want to leave it on the table. You know what I mean?
It's a bit of a cynical mindset, but at the end of the day, these companies, though they work in health, are there to make money. They're there to make profit. Their job is to sell. And as a result, though they are regulated to a point where they can't sell you, they can't give you cancer treatments if you don't have cancer, but they are still there to sell. And if they can push something else into the bag that empties your pocket that little bit more, they'll do it.
Yeah, and there are good TRT clinics out there, but man, I saw, this woman I work with, it just posted about her huge transformation that she made over an 8-month period of time. She was maybe 2 months into the diet, and she came to me with this extensive lab work that she had done, and it was through this like megaoptimization.com TRT or whatever, anyway, they had a laundry list of stuff they wanted to put her on, and it was literally going to cost thousands with, follow-up treatment plans and all this stuff, and I looked over those labs with Victoria, and she had said, gosh, her progesterone's a little low, but other than that, she's in her 40s and her testosterone levels are great. Estrogen levels are great. Like, she's producing the things she needs to. Everything looks like pretty okay. And it took some additional talking with her. She ended up not going with any of that stuff. They also would have put her on semaglutide. Her blood sugar was immaculate, but they're like, you're dieting, you're going to need this. Anyway, she didn't get anything from them, and now she's in incredible shape. She's stuck with it,
Yeah, we've covered this a few times. You can look at studies, and this study shows this, and this study shows that. And I'm not saying that the studies are lying, because they're not. But you've then also got to look how that works in a real world application, and that can be vastly different.
Yeah.
This is the market where a lot of peptides operate in. It's this market of, but in studies it showed to do this and that. Yeah, but in the real world, when 100 people took it, only 3 people noticed anything worth talking about. And that's the problem, and that's where user market comes handy, because it gives you direct, relatable feedback. If a product's good and it does what you want it to do, people will be using it. If they're not anymore, there you go.
Yeah. Hey, check out this picture, Dave. This is my before and after with her. I mean, and she did that naturally.
She's put some good weight on. She's a lot bigger in the afters.
It's the other way. Read it left to right. Left to right. Left to right. 8 months difference. But yeah.
She's lean. She's lean.
Yeah, she is. And you know what, too? She's eating more now. We're rounding the diet out. I'm really glad she stuck with it. The big next step, and the reason I made that post was, first of all, to show off how great she did, but also, in a kind of a side topic, she's also now eating more, filling out the diet, getting more variety in. And I'm glad she's sticking with that, because I've seen so many people that will come in, work with me, make a transformation like that, and then say, all right. And as you would say, Dave, they just piss off somewhere. And then, 6 months later, they're back to where they started, because they only had one program. They had 2 programs, their old program that they used to do, and then the program they're running with you. And then they don't know how to balance it out afterward,
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll take this one from the stream from our good friend Gamboni Law. Can you recommend any supplements to reduce cortisol if you have a stressful job and life in general? I think it definitely hinders food absorption and training.
I can think of a couple of things that will help lower cortisol.
Okay.
Sell your children into slavery. That lowers, when my kids are not around, that lowers my stress levels substantially. No.
Did I hear Mrs. Crosland in the background? Was that her?
No, you heard child.
You heard your daughter.
Lion's Mane is the popular one, and that seems to be quite effective for lowering cortisol. Though you have to be a little bit careful. Low cortisol can also not be very healthy, so don't go mad on it. The rest is other like stress management program stuff. Sort of some quiet time, building in some 5-minute breaks during the day. And I appreciate that he's busy with work, and he's also busy with family life. I know his kids are really active with the clubs and sports teams and everything else they do, because I've seen on his Facebook page a number of, like, I can't remember what sport it is. I don't know if it's baseball or hockey or something. One of his boys does.
Okay. Also, I'll throw adaptogens like ashwagandha could be beneficial, specifically the MK6. Is it MK? I want to say, no, that's MK's. What is it? Why can't I think of it? I almost said MK677. That's something completely different.
Isn't it KSW?
KSM 66.
Yeah.
It's a little slightly different. You could use either.
Well, I think one of the things people don't realize, or don't actually are surprised at, how literally just taking 5-10 minutes every 2-3 hours, if you're working a bit in the office, literally going to sit in the toilet or something, and just having 5-10 minutes of separation, quietness, and just breathing, letting things, and then going back to it again. And it's surprising how 2 or 3 of those little 5-10 minute breaks in a break can really lower the overall. You're being rude, Scott, because you're trying not to laugh. Nope. You've got a big smirk at your face.
I was going to say something to you. I was going to say, hey, Dave, through the whole show, do this. Just like rub your shirt like this through the whole show. Okay. Into the microphone.
Is it good?
It's really...
I'm actually rubbing my pacemaker. That's where
Are you really?
Yeah.
Can you feel it? You can feel it in there, right? It's like
yeah.
Rubbing your face. Does that help to like slow it down a little bit?
Yeah, it's just getting the rhythm right.
Oh man. Yeah, MK677 is my favorite ashwagandha strain.
I thought you were being rude about sitting in a toilet on your own for 10 minutes, you pervert.
No, you do. Seriously, I think you do make the biggest point, though, about... I mean, like, I have seen ashwagandha work a little bit for some people and not for others. I don't know, man. But for no question at all, man, reducing your stress levels, trying to manage stress is the number one thing. All the sleep hygiene stuff that everybody talks about nowadays. And, I mean, really, those are going to be the biggest factors, right?
Yeah, and it's difficult because you put as much effort into those management strategies as the stress is causing you in the opposite way. But once you get into it and start to get into routines with it really can help. And you wouldn't think that a total of 25 minutes in a day spent in silence would have that amount of impact on how you manage your day, but it really can help. And when you're getting stressed at work or stressed at home or stressed in any environment, just taking yourself out of that situation for 5 minutes to just go,
yeah,
and then go back into it, really can help stop those levels building to a point where they become problematic.
Ooh, here's a good follower of the show. Somebody who's a big fan of yours, Dave. He said, just made a statement for you. Test at 300 milligrams a week in 3 units of GH a day is the new TRT.
I would have said that's a bit light, isn't it, for the new TRT? There's no Primo in there. Come on. Slacking.
He was trying to troll you, man. He was like, I'm going to try to get Dave with this one. All right. What about this? He says, I was planning on doing a cycle of Test, Primo, and a VAR. 750, 600, and 60 a day on the VAR. However, there seems to be a shortage of raw Primo from my preferred source, and he doesn't have any in stock. And he said he might not have any for a little bit. Would I be able to substitute the Primo with Mast E? I've run this cycle before, but with lower doses, Test Primo, and had a great experience, gaining a solid 5 pounds of lean muscle and leaning out a bit. Thanks for the excellent content as always.
I wouldn't say it's a direct swap, but I'd say it's definitely a viable one. The thing you've got to remember with Mast is that Mast, though it's going to block receptors, it's not necessarily going to lower estrogen levels. It will in a few people, but for the vast majority, your estrogen is going to appear high. So you need to go off how you feel and the physical presentation of estrogen sides rather than the blood work when you're on Mast. Yeah. And as long as you feel good and you've not got huge amounts of water retention, I would be comfortable to call that job done when it came to estrogen management if you're using Mast for that reason. But other than that, yeah, Mast is perfectly viable. I don't think I think you'd probably get slightly better progress from a muscularity point of view with the Mast on over the Primo.
Yeah.
But you might not get the same feel good factor.
We got a bunch of people who were helping us out saying KSM 66. You know what was weird? So the owner of KSM 66 was one of the big sponsors at the Arnold Classic last year. They're going to be back this year. They had a huge booth, which it's weird to think of an ingredient because a lot of times people will purchase the right to use KSM 66 in their cortisol, product. I know that Mutant, I saw the meeting there between the owner of KSM 66 and the owner of Mutant, and I know they're going to do some sort of collab now. But yeah, they're big at the Arnold this year again.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to the point within supplements where if it's not KSM 66, it's not worth putting it in. So the proprietary, the branded, I can't remember the right word for it now, ingredients are becoming a very important factor of supplement manufacture and supplement marketing now.
And I remember I had a guy named Prady on who had remember that company Azoth, the nootropics company. And I brought him on once. We talked about the different versions, and he had mentioned that there are different versions that will give you different effects. Like there's one ashwagandha that will make you more relaxed, one that will give you more focus, and one that'll help you with more cortisol, stuff like that. I don't know how much truth there is to that because I haven't experimented with much outside of the KSM 66, but I thought that was interesting. All right, what else do we have here, Dave? Did we even answer his question about the mast?
Yeah,
more or less.
Yeah. We said mast was viable.
Yeah. Okay. I don't understand this one at all. Like, I don't get it at all. He says, okay, stick with me for a minute here, Dave. Paying off my debts and going stringy to afford GH, 3 units a day, maybe 6, no joke. Paying off my debts and going stringy to afford 3 units of GH a day, maybe 6, no joke. Paying off my debts. I feel like you go in debt when you buy GH. You don't pay them off. I don't know.
Maybe he's saying he's paid off his debts so he can afford GH now.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
The stringy bit doesn't get me, but
maybe he's not eating enough food. He's like, well, I just won't buy protein anymore.
Maybe he's one of them weird American folk that speak funny.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean.
Say aluminum.
Aluminium. What? Isn't that how we all say it?
Yep.
Okay. How about this one here? Another drug question for drugs and stuff. What are your thoughts on taking...
Why do we get drug questions?
I don't know, but they keep sending them.
Why don't we get like, this boy in class likes me, how do I let him know I like him too, you know?
Is there a boy in class that likes you, Dave?
No, nobody likes me.
Okay.
Wife just about tolerates me.
I don't know this product. Oh, geez. Okay. So I'm not going to even say the name of the company. It's a company that we have been, affiliated with. We'll just call it AA. They have a product called Carbolic. I think it's Carbolic, but I like Carbolic better. And anyway, it's injectable cardarine and SR900 3 times a week pre-cardio. Thanks, Scott. So that's GW501516, which I thought was really orally available to begin with. I don't know why. I would say this, man. I would scrap it. I don't know what his goals are with cardarine, but I feel like I get a really good benefit from SLUPP332, aka the SLU. There are other SLUs out there like SLU 30, I think, or something like that. I haven't tried that one yet, but I heard it is beneficial. I would go with that. If you want an exercise mimetic, do you go with the one that has been proven to cause cancer in every organ of the body in that rat study? And I understand the study was flawed. Or do you go with the one that hasn't been studied enough yet to show cancer?
Well, the problem is with the first one, they abandoned any research because of that study. Irrespective of whether that study was flawed or not, they stopped looking at it. So, I mean, we sort of, we don't know either way.
Yeah.
I do sometimes. Just a bit of public information here.
Okay. People. Yeah.
You do realize that you can go to the gym, you can eat a healthy, relatively balanced diet, and you can train with some effort and actually make some fairly good progress.
Yeah.
You don't need a supplement or a chemical for every aspect of what you do.
Wrong show, Dave. Wrong show.
But I think we sometimes forget that. I generally do think sometimes you get so lost in this world that you forget, actually I can just get up and go and train.
Yeah. I do like a lot of products from that company. There are products that I use myself, but then there's also things that I don't stand behind. And just personally, I couldn't sleep at night, guys, if I were to tell you, like, go take this thing. You know, and here's the thing too. I'm probably even more conservative with my clients than I am with myself. You know, I've seen coaches that have had clients get major health issues. You know, I've seen coaches that have had worse, and I would not be able to sleep well, you know, if I were to hurt somebody. So, yeah, I tried catering in the past. I don't really suggest it much to people in general. I'm not going to suggest going out and taking an injectable version of it. I think there's other things out there that you could get a lot of benefit from.
I agree. I also think a lot of these things are just unnecessary.
Yeah. How about this one from Kyle in the live stream? How would you stack MENT ACE with a TRT base? 125 test on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You've talked before about this, Scott. I'm transitioning off of Tren ACE at 50 milligrams Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Would the same dose be good to go?
I think from a point of view of if you're wanting to go on to MENT ACE, then 50 milligrams Monday, Wednesday, Friday is a fair starting point. I don't have any issue with that. You're going to obviously have an increased need for estrogen management. I don't think it's going to be too dramatic at those doses, but there's going to be some increase. So just keep that at the back of your mind.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have here? I know we had a bunch more. Peyton. This is Peyton, who does a bunch of our reels and shorts for YouTube and stuff. He says, question topic for the show. Would love to hear differences in opinions on organic versus non-organic and grass-fed versus grain-fed foods. Do you think it is worth the extra cost?
Yes, actually, I do. But I also think it's a marketplace where it's exaggerated.
Yeah. Dave's got an autograph to sign.
Traffic. No, Chaz is waiting for a client, and he's just messaged saying he's running a bit late. So I have genuinely noticed a difference in just general well-being and feel-good factor from a diet where food sources are fully organic or, you know, naturally reared. There's also a difference in flavor profile, to be fair, as well. The proper stuff genuinely does taste nicer.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not so sure the cost is justified sometimes, and I think there is a little bit of a markup on those types of foods just for the simple reason because they can.
Yeah.
There's this perception of greater quality, which is sustained, but I don't think it always justifies the costings and prices that are applied. But I mean, I don't know what it's like your side of the water, but I mean, I grew up with a generation who still had vegetable plots, who still had allotments and still grew. Not all their own veg, but a fair portion, you know. And we ate veg on a, if not daily, definitely every other day. We were eating foods that had been grown in the garden, and they'd been grown using natural fertilizers. Yeah, horse shit. In case anyone was wondering what I was getting at, or cow shit for that. No, horse shit. And were grown organically, you know. And there definitely is something of benefit to that, both from flavor profile and from a health point of view. What I think people may not realize is that when foods have preservatives added to them, what they actually do is they break down natural enzymes that would normally cause the food to almost self-digest. So which causes it to rot, causes it to go off. But we use those natural enzymes when we consume that food to help our digestion of that food. So when something's organic, it comes with all these enzymes complete, which makes our digestion of that food much healthier, much more efficient. They do think that a lot of the problems with stuff like IBS and celiacs and things like this now is because we're seeing the byproduct of a generation of using preserved and fortified foods, which have lowered the natural intake of these enzymes and therefore made digestion issues apparent. So, there's definitely something in it. You can, with not a huge amount of effort, grow a large amount of your own vegetables if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And that would be incredibly cheap. But when it comes to the meat side of things, unfortunately, it does get a bit expensive.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Tanya Miller has an interesting statement. She says, I think eating seasonally, regionally, has more value than just going organic across the board. That makes a difference. Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great point too. What's local and available to you, and obviously that kind of there's also an element of freshness in there too. It hasn't been, traveled across the world to get to you.
There's a cost effectiveness in that because you're eating what's readily available at that time of the year, which is more in line with what we would do naturally as a hunter-gatherer. We would eat what was available at that time of the year and what was freely available, and from that time point of view, it was about the effort to get the food. Whereas now it's financially driven, but it works well. Yeah, you don't want to be eating strawberries in the middle of winter because you're going to be paying a fortune for them.
We have Michigan along the west coast of the state, especially the northwest coast. We grow cherries. The air is really good for growing cherries, and they grow grapes for wine. We're known to have good cherries here in Michigan, and we're also known for our apples. We do a lot of apples in Michigan. Is there a food that you guys, a vegetable or a tree, something that is growing there with food that you can consume off of it in your area that you're known for?
Well, obviously Scotland is the haggis.
Of course, yeah.
I keep sending you haggis stuff.
I can't wait to get to meet the haggis. Dave's going to take me, and we're going to go. They're beautiful, furry little creatures, and that's now my highlight. I can't wait to come to England for Dave to take me to meet the haggis and go to the Haggis Museum and everything else. We're going to go on a hunt for them and find them. I might even get a little one and bring it home.
Oh, you can't. I'll keep them as pets, mate. They don't make very good pets.
No?
No, they get a bit nasty when you keep them in captivity.
All right, listen. So let's talk shop here. I want to hear all about your trip. And guys, if we didn't get to your questions, comment on this episode as it comes out on YouTube here, and we would happy to tackle that. And we'll be back in full swing next week. But I want to hear all about your trip now for a few minutes. In fact, I'm going to go to your Facebook page and find some pictures. You send me anything you want to.
It was incredible. It just simply was incredible. I don't think anything prepares you for the size of Tokyo. And I don't think you can appreciate the size of Tokyo until you see it from the air.
Is this a picture you took?
Yeah, that's Mount Fuji.
Wow. So that's obviously not Tokyo, but that's the first thing I saw. That is epic. Did you go up that at all, or what'd you do?
No, it was too far away. You can see Mount Fuji from Tokyo. It dominates the background. But we went to a region called Hakone, which we actually, where we were was an active volcano. And it's all geothermal. So we were staying, they call them onsens, and they're hot spring spas. And we stopped at a hotel with them. And then we went on this lake trip and went at what they call Death Valley, which is basically where all the sulfur ports are on the side of the mountain. Okay. Japan's odd so I'll get this right. You get a lot of people spouting off about wanting to be individual, wanting to have freedom to express themselves, wanting to be this, wanting to be that.
Yeah.
And they mock some of the Asian countries for being that Osaka.
Okay.
Osaka's proper mad. I liked Osaka. That yellow thing's like a giant Ferris wheel.
You're kidding me.
No, those red blobs are little carriages you sit in and go around.
Oh my God. That's wild.
Now, Japan is super efficient. But it's super efficient because it runs to rules.
Okay.
Now you can be, so everything works because the rules are so strict. So it's like you can't. We landed at 7 o'clock in the morning. We couldn't check into our hotel till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no exception. You can sit there and puff and moan and kick your teeth as much as you want. Well, I landed. It doesn't matter. That's the rules. That's how it works.
Wow.
But it does that so that the hotel then runs perfectly smoothly.
Okay, and people respect that too.
Yeah. So trains all on time, perfect, and incredibly frequent. But again, it's because you follow the rules.
Yeah.
People queue very orderly. There's no pushing and shoving, even though there's pushing and shoving like to get in the train because they are so packed, some of them.
Yeah.
They queue very orderly. They queue very orderly. No one tries to queue jump. No one tries to push, and everybody sits and takes their place. And you'll get a lot of Western people go, oh, yeah, but, there's too many rules. It's too restricted. I can't be an individual. And yet the Japanese people, I don't think I've been anywhere where people are any more individual. That's breakfast.
Wow.
Where they're any more individual.
Huh.
You can dress like a dog and be walked around the streets and nobody cares.
Literally,
you can be a furry. Yeah, you can be a furry. You can be an anime character.
Okay.
And everybody allows that and doesn't have an issue with that, but they don't force that onto anybody else.
Okay.
So if you want to be and dress up like an anime character, that's perfectly fine. But what you can't do is expect the rest of culture to change to accommodate you. You still have to fit in with all the rules.
Okay.
And they just seem to have it right. It just seems to be a really good balance. I mean, there's Tokyo, the busiest city on the planet. Over 1 million people in Tokyo.
Yeah.
The Shiba Crossing, or whatever it's called, over 1,000 people walk across that thing when the lights change.
Wow.
It's so busy. And this is a city that's absolutely rammed, and yet I saw no arguments. I saw no one shouting. I saw no one sort of running down the street having done something they shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Nothing. No petty crime. No, there's a strong organized crime within Tokyo.
I've heard about that.
But just no petty crime. Nothing.
Yeah.
And yet you can't walk 5 meters in London without checking your pocket to make sure no one's robbed your phone.
Oh, and so that kind of stuff just doesn't happen there, huh?
Just doesn't happen. No, it's just a completely... And the Japanese, they have this thing, and I think this is wonderful. But obviously this starts at infancy, where it doesn't matter what job you do, it's important. And you might be a toilet cleaner, but what a mess we'd be in if we didn't have any toilet cleaners.
Yeah.
So people don't tend to look down at the nose at somebody who would have what would be traditionally viewed as a lesser job, because they're still as important. Because it works, because everybody does their bit. And they take great pride in what they do. So they do their jobs to the best of their ability, because the job, whatever it is shown respect, because it's appreciated. It's an essential role, even if it would seem like a minor role to us lot. So that was, and it was quite interesting. So watching the train drivers and the train guards, they have this almost dance of a routine. So when they stopped in the station, if they had to check something before they set off, they'd physically point at what they were checking.
Okay.
They made this whole elaborate action to check something, so it became this routine, so they ensured that they checked it. And it was quite interesting to watch this quite elaborate little dance that the guard did at every station. And he was like, da-da-da. And he goes through his cabin doing his little routine and then moves on to the next station and repeats it all again.
Yeah.
Friendly, helpful. The transportation system is incredible. The public transport system is
How
so
tall
cheap.
was the next tallest guy when you were out in public?
Oh, there's some big Japanese. There's plenty of 6-foot males.
Are there really? Because I always think of just Asians in general as not being your stature.
No, the average height, the physical build's smaller, so they're slimmer, but
Okay.
they still have the height. But I
Okay.
mean, there was a fair few Westerners about as well, particularly Tokyo.
I just pictured in Tokyo, like all these people with dark hair walking around, and then Dave standing there like 3 feet above everyone.
In certain areas, it was a bit like that. No, maybe not so much. Tokyo's a really international city,
Okay.
so it's a little bit different. But when you get out, Kyoto's much more traditional.
Yeah.
And you really do see a difference when you go to Kyoto in the way things work, and the hotels was quite interesting how the hotels changed, and how the food changed. That's Kyoto.
Yeah. What is that? Is that a house or a hotel, or what am I looking at there?
I think they're just regular houses.
Okay. Huh. It is such a different culture than ours, and so far away, even further for me. I think it'd be quite an experience to see that. I spent a few hours in Seoul, Korea. That's the closest I got. A couple hours, and that was just on a layover. I did get the best burger, Dave. It was so delicious. They had a delicious beef burger, and it had like a Korean barbecue sauce on it. Oh my God. I want to go back to Korea just for that burger.
Food, the amount of food, the amount of places you can eat.
Yeah.
And actually quite cheaply as well.
Really?
I mean, when we were up in Hakone, we went up into the mountains, and we went into this little family-run restaurant, and there was only 14 seats in the whole place.
Okay.
And 4 of those were sat at the counter that they were cooking at. It was that sort of small knit.
Yeah.
And I think we paid about £3-4 for a meal each, and we were absolutely stuffed when we came out of there.
Okay.
It's just, the food's fantastic.
What's this?
It's all a bit, that's Wagyu at like a grill your own type place.
Okay.
A lot of Kobe beef, a lot of Wagyu beef. And it's graded, so you've got like A5, A7. I'm not quite sure how the grading works, if I'm honest.
Okay.
Pork is another popular dish as well.
Yeah. You even took a picture of their ketchup packages.
This was a mad little thing. So you bend it and it snaps, and and then you squeeze it, and it gives you a perfect line of ketchup and a perfect line of mustard down your hot dog.
Huh. Okay.
I really liked it.
You went to a hot dog shop there, huh?
Hot dogs are quite popular. There's quite a lot of hot dog places.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just really, really good. Best holiday I've had.
Really?
Yeah, experience-wise, it was just incredible.
I love hearing that. Here's another shot of you guys.
There's that's Sapporo, just outside the main train station.
Okay. And you got to see the snow festival you wanted to see, right?
Yep. Yeah,
those things
snow festival.
Crazy.
Snow festival and ice festival in Sapporo.
Okay.
The weird thing is they build these massive sculptures. They're only there for 5 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then they pull them down.
I'm going to find one of those pictures. Some of those things looked like legit buildings, like this.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm just going to take a screenshot of it. How about this one? There's just a picture of it. You had a video. That's all made out of snow, huh?
Yep. So that one was done by the Japanese army.
Oh, really? Okay.
To put that in scale, that's basically full size.
Wow. Holy crap.
That's like 20 odd 30 feet high at its highest point.
Okay.
What they do on the night is they project these effectively light shows onto them. So there was that one. There was a Japanese building. Then there was one from Capcom, the game makers.
Okay.
And the Japanese building had the best light show. But
okay.
I think the Capcom one was probably the best sculpture. That was a giant dragon.
Oh, okay.
They had a team from Oregon, I think it was there.
Oh, no kidding. They traveled over from Oregon to see that and do that.
It was crap.
Oh. The Japanese people were like, very nice effort. We're glad you came in and did this with us. Very good job, guys. Very good job, stupid Americans.
They have an international section where the teams from around the world compete, and I think Mongolia won it.
Oh,
and Thailand came second.
okay. Well, that's freaking cool, man. Do you have anything coming up that you're doing? Any kind of like pillars of strength or anything like that?
PED course, yeah, just about to run a new PED course. I haven't fixed a date, but it will be before the end of February, so I'm taking inquiries for that.
How do people reach out to you for that?
Usual socials, just IG or Facebook Messenger. Drop me a message and I'll sort you out. Basically, you go into a WhatsApp chat group, and then all the information gets relayed through there.
All right, cool. And you do videos for that as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just to be clear, it's not just a chat group on WhatsApp.
Oh no! So we do a presentation. There's 5 presentations. They're all between sort of 90 minutes and 2 hours long. These are all recorded. You get those copies of recordings, and then there's some handouts you get as well.
Okay. Do you do any kind of question, answer, anything like that with it?
At the end of all the videos, every session we have is a live session where you can interact and ask questions and stuff.
Okay, nice. And,
yeah, so it's all done one-to-one live.
Anything else going on? Coaching? Reach out to Dave or I for coaching. You hit you up on social media. Is it the best way? All right. Reach out to me, McNallyDiets@gmail.com. Thank you to STROM Sports Nutrition for supporting our program. They specifically went out of their way. They're like, we don't care about the other shows. We just want to support drugs and stuff. We want to advertise with you guys. So definitely check out STROM Sports Nutrition. They're kind of like they're on the same wavelength with us. And they do have good products. Check out their cycle support stuff and all of that. And of course, supplementsource.ca for Canadians. They have great deals that change week to week. We'll be back on track next week, guys. So leave us questions on YouTube. Leave us questions on Patreon. We did get to those Patreon questions today. And of course, TrueNutrition.com. Thank you, True Nutrition, for supporting our programming all these years. Use our code THINK over there. You need protein powder, right? Let's go to TrueNutrition.com. Get your protein powder there. You can buy it by bulk, buy it by the pound, flavor it how you want. And yeah, for another episode of the podcast, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Dave. Glad you had a really good time, man. I was happy to see all that stuff.
Yeah, I did. Generally did, mate. I'm tired now, but I'll be right in a few days once everything settles back.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.